Happy Monday to you, everyone. Hope you're doing well. I've had several viewers have reached out to me recently and said, hey, Bryan, I've had a couple of sticking points on that down. My dog was lying down at first when I would lure it down with a treat. But then, of course, when I wanted to move beyond that, because, yeah, you know why. Because when I encountered other people or other dogs and I tried to lure my dog into a down, I only had about a 20% success rate. The rest of the time, the dog said, let's hit a pause button on the treat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, but I need to pay attention to this dog. I need to pay attention to this person. And therefore, the treat just basically got trumped by the other person and the other dog. Therefore, it's always advantageous to have other means of making your dog lie down when you need to outside of treats. A great way to introduce the down, a great way to introduce a lot of behaviors. However, if you need a reliable response, then you need to be able to train your dog to do so without having a treat with you. So that being said, when they started to embark upon not using a treat, it's required of you to almost force your dog into a down. And as soon as you do that, a button gets pushed in their head. And it can be a little bit of a panic button because animals, whenever they receive a signal from another animal or another human being, the way they interpret that signal is very dependent upon the context in which it was sent. So that being said, this is not play. We're not playing. A lot of dogs will lie down on their own during play with another dog or play with a human. They'll lie down to get their bellies rubbed. They'll lie down for many reasons. But when you start to push on a dog to make it lie down or use any number of methods to force the animal down because you gave the down command, for many dogs, as soon as that starts, there's this little panic button that comes in. And that's because, again, their relationship back from a phylogenetic relationship back with their ancestors, the wolves. And it's one of those where out in the wild, if you're made to lie down, you're forced into a down outside the context of play, then I mean business. You have pushed me to a point to where I feel that to get my point across, I'm going to have to make you lie down. And that's still in something that is very still deep inside of our dogs. And you're just not going to get over it. Some dogs are easier to teach down. Others are more difficult. They're easy about 3/4 of the way through. But as soon as you start to force the issue, wow, now all of a sudden there's this, oh, wait a minute. Are we okay? Are we okay? Well, a couple of these viewers have stumbled upon this. They've encountered this. They've had difficulties going beyond the luring portion of the training. So let me show you a couple things that you can do. And I've shot videos in the past here on our Facebook Live that I do every day about down. So go back and review those. But for right now, the sticking point that they ran into is the animal is simply just locked out. And right here next to me, I have Louie. Louie's really cool. He's a standard poodle. But guess what? Last week, he's here for our board and train program. And last week, I was working with him, and I encountered one of those moments. Yeah, it was all hunky-dory, perfectly fine, using the luring method. But then now as we start to advance this training, we're requiring the down around other dogs, other people, other locations. And suddenly, my treats lost. They were in the L column, and all those other things were in the W column. Ran into a bit of a problem, so here we go. Now we have to teach the animal to lie down upon command with or without treats. As soon as I did that with Louie, he balked. Yeah, he locked out those elbows. He had this real worried look on his face, and he's looking up at me like, we still good, right, man? We still good, right? Yeah, it just happens naturally. So here's a couple things that I did with him to get him over that point. First thing I did is he loves to give a paw. So he was already taught that by his owners. So I was able to kind of take a knee down here next to him and give him a little pet there. You see there you go. He loves to give a paw. So when you raise that paw, I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and take advantage of that. So I'm going to give the down command, and when I give the down command, I'm going to go ahead and grab his other paw and just kind of pull it right out from underneath him and see what we can get done with that. So look, something like this. Down, and I gave him a little push, and as soon as he lied down on the ground, well, I followed up with a treat, and when he would take it, I'd put it there right there between his paws. Again, kind of get him in that nice little down position there. So I'm going to hop him up here real quick. As soon as I can find my leash. Free, buddy. Okay. So now I'm just going to, instead of walking all over the room, sit, we're going to go back into a sit. And again, the way that I got this thing done for him without that panic attack was simply just take a knee right next to him, give him a little love in there, calm everything down. It's all good. We're all good. We're good. He put his paw up there. I really don't care about that this moment. Hey, you want to give me your paw? Well, we're not doing that. We're actually going to work on down. But that being said, I'm going to take advantage of this because if you feel good enough to give me that paw, well, then let's just go for it. So now, again, with my left hand, I would reach across to him. I'm in nice and tight. Our bodies are literally touching, kind of leaning over him. One of those little subliminal messages. Lean over him, kind of like a perpendicular mount for wild animals. Just gives that little message ahead of time, little body English there. And then I just run that left hand down, grab about the elbow area of the left leg, and give him the command down. And when I do, I'd pull it out, push him the rest of the way. The left hand would slide from the left leg right to the shoulders, push him into a down. And when he wouldn't take the treat, I'd give him a pet. And here's one thing about the petting here. Don't cheerlead it. The down typically is an OFF switch for most owners. This is to deactivate your dog, not to activate it. So don't make it counterproductive by now going, woo, good job, Louie, way to go, buddy. Yes. No, keep it calm. And while I'm petting, I'm kind of giving this downward push. Downward push. And the same thing when I stand up. A little push on them. Stand up. And now we're ready to move on to the next thing. Free. So hop them up here. Come on, Louie dog. Going to come back over here. Now I'm going to take a little sideways approach this time so you guys maybe can see it from a different angle. So there's Louie in my sit. Take a knee right next to him. Here comes that paw. Dude, love you, man. Love you, buddy. Okay, so then the left hand reached down and grabbed the other leg, about the elbow, bent it, just like your elbow would bend, down, lifted it out. And notice I grabbed it. I grabbed it with that other hand, my right hand. I actually grabbed it. So the hand, he had his paw, his right paw over my right arm. My left hand went down, bent that elbow, but as we were going into that down, I reached over and grabbed that left leg with my right hand so my left hand can now slide up the shoulders and push right back there on his shoulders. Now do me a favor, push on the shoulders. Do not push on his neck. You push real hard on the neck, we could create an injury. And number two, he was worried about what's called intra-group control. He was worried about that. Well, if I go pushing on his neck, I'm going to affirm those worries. Yeah, he's going to be really worried about it because he's going, oh, it's true. Because see, when we dogs grab other dogs by the neck and wolves grab wolves by the neck, that's someone trying to exert their control over me. And they're taking it to a super high level. So I don't want him to think that. Just slid my hand down the head, rested right on those shoulders, and give a little push down. Okay, so let me show you another thing we can do. Free. All right, so now that we have that, okay, Louie was able to advance from that pretty quickly. Just had to get him over that initial fears. It took about 20 repetitions. And after about 20, we're starting to gel a little bit. So instead of taking that knee next to the dog, now I just lowered my leash to the ground, okay? Make sure you can get to this point. Just lower it to the ground. I've stepped on it with the foot closest to the dog. You see him already getting ready to go. And I kind of bent over a little bit to kind of send that message again. Again, there's so much body English involved here. Bent over him, and he said, down. Now, he's already used to my left hand on his shoulders from the previous step that I took where I lift up his legs. By putting it back there, hey, at least I'm picking up two signals that I'm familiar with Bryan. His looming over me, his bending over me, and something pushing on my shoulders. And then, of course, there's the ever-present auditory signal, down. So what did I do with my right hand over here while all that stuff was going on? The foot that went on the leash served as a fulcrum. When you do this, don't put all your weight on it because you won't be able to do anything. Either stand on your toes or stand on your heel, create a little airspace between the foot and the floor, and then just pull with the right arm. And now all of a sudden that pulling up transfers down underneath that foot up to him and starts to pull him into a down. Real slowly while you're pushing on those shoulders with the good old left hand. Okay, let me demonstrate it again. Free, free. There we go, buddy. Moving around here. Going to come line back up here again. And I tell you what, let's go for a side view here. Louis, sit. And you notice I'm making him sit. Why? He's already halfway down. I got the back half down. Now all I have to do is get the front half down. Later, we'll transition to a down from a stand. And then we'll also transition from a stand to a down while we're moving. So on the move, while the animal is actually moving, you give the command down, and they will lay down immediately. All right, so he's right here next to me. My leash, I'm going to lower it down, step on it with the foot closer to the dog, down. And as you can see there, again, they learn with their eyes first. Even though I've been doing all this stuff with my hands and doing all this stuff with my auditory signal and pushing on them, all that haptic stuff, all that auditory stuff, remember, that leaning over them is visual. And now he's gotten to a point where if I even get near that leash with my left foot, he's already headed to the ground because he knows what's coming next. Well done. Free. Okay, so the next step I've been taking now with him is to avoid having to step on the leash. So now I'm just going to pull down with the right hand, and guess what the left hand is going to do? It's got a job. It always has a job up to this point. If you're not using both of your hands, using all of you, you're wrong. And that's why you're going to keep running into these sticking points. Man, just think, if you were the dog, Bryan, give me all the stinking clues you can give me, brother. Why would you just give me one when you can give me a dozen? You bet, buddy. I'll give you all you need to get over this hurdle. And then once we do, I can start to peel them away a little bit at a time till we're down to just an auditory down, and that's it. Okay, so now the next step. Right hand slides up that leash. Wow, now I'm only about 6 to 8 inches away from where it connects to his neck. Left hand, here we go. Where's it going? You tell me. There you go, right answer, right there on those shoulders. Hey, I'm familiar. Look what I'm doing with my body. I'm bending over, that's familiar. Here comes that downward, that's familiar. And here comes that now should be familiar pull down. It's just happening with my hand, not going through the bottom of my foot. Down, and there we go. And as soon as he's on that ground again, if he takes a treat at that moment, just drop it right there on the ground, right there between his paws. And if you give a pet, send a message with that pet. Love you, buddy, but don't get up. Free. All right, let's go ahead and turn a little bit. I think I'll turn this way this time. Louis, sit. Good job, dude. And by the way, if you ask your dog to sit, dude, make sure you reward that sit. You haven't heard me doing a lot of that right now because I'm trying to move through this video pretty quickly here. But just know this. If that machine's not turned on right now, you're not watching, you bet. If I ever ask a dog to do anything, I can give them a command to do anything. When they do it, I reward it. Flat out. Maybe just to be a real token, well done, sir. Looking good. And sometimes I go, wow. That was dynamite because you gave me something better than you've ever given to me before. And I want you to take note of that because I certainly took notice of that. Okay, from the side little angle here, right hand slides up that leash. Notice where the rest of it is. It's on the ground. It washes. Right hand slides up. Left hand slides right down the head and rests where? Oh, he's already getting ready. I love anticipation. And it's right there on those shoulders. Here we go, down, and we just give a little pull down with that leash until the animal lies down. Then bingo, you park that treat down there between his paws, or give him a good pet and then a good push off when you stand up. All right, one last thing. Free. Okay, so the dog, you pull, still locks out. Well, you need to go back to the first step where you lift the legs in front. But you try lifting the legs in front, the dog just jerks away from you like a crawdad. It's going backwards at 100 miles an hour. Or you lean over the dog like this and you get a, okay, note. Might want to back off that leaning over because you're going to be putting your face in a very precarious situation by getting that close to the dog. Again, this is all about, you should know all these things about your dog before you even get to this point. Before you embark upon training any dog, you need to get to know that dog very well. Okay, but should you run into all of that? Okay, here's the last technique. Flat out. Put the leash on the ground, give the command down, and give me a pull. Simple as that. And if the animal does this, meaning front end goes down, back end stays up, wait on it. Wait on it. Do not allow the dog to get in any sort of trouble by spinning around, diving between your legs. Wait on it. You can try and push on those shoulders, but make sure that the tension in this line stays tight. Keep in mind, winners win, losers lose. I start to pull. You pitch an ever-loving fit. Well, go ahead and pitch your little fit. As long as you don't pitch it so much that you get either one of us in trouble here. As long as I'm watching everything, I'm being steady, I'm being calm, you will finally realize, okay, so the fit pitching isn't working. And eventually the dog will lie down, and when it does, that's when you give that good old praise. And I'm telling you what, animals are very good about picking that up. All right, so there was a pull. Kind of had me worried. Pitched a fit. It didn't work. I lied down. That worked. There you go. You just may have to go really slow in doing it. But man, take a look at old Louie dog here. Free, buddy. Free, my man. There you go. Give it to me. There you go, my man. Good job. He's good to go now. We are moving on, and we are now, today we're working on dropping from a move. As soon as we're moving, we're going to drop into that down. We're going to work on that. Keep pressing this. We're already working on downing around distractions. We're working on downing with stay. It just had to get him over this hurdle. It was a tough little wall there. He had a moment. And the only thing my job was to make sure he stayed safe and make sure that little moment that he had doesn't work out to his advantage as far as not having to do the down. Because down is an important command. It really is. So stick with it, guys. And those, speaking of stick with it, those were the sticking points. People were running into problems, the viewers. And I'm hoping that now you'll follow these steps and it'll get you past those points and you'll be moving down the road just like Louie. If it does not, reach back out to me. Reach out. And again, if you're having any sort of sticking point with any training that you're doing, you're just running into a wall, send it to me. I will go over it because I don't think that there is a sticking point in this world when it comes to dog training that I haven't run into. I promise you that. I think I have run into every wall there is. And you know what? I'm getting over them, right over them a whole lot faster than I used to. So let me share what I've learned with you. So if you get stuck, send it my way. All right, guys, that's it for today. It's Monday, and it's a manic Monday. I got a lot of work to do today. I'm sure you do as well. If you got that sticking point, work on it like I am with Louie. And if you got anything you want to share with me, share it. And if you found this information shareable with someone else that you think may be running into a little bit of problems teaching it down, please share it. And until then, until tomorrow, buddy, get busy, make a great training day. Catch you later. Good job, Louie.